life, Lord, and God, we thank you for loving us, Lord. And God, we thank you, Lord, Father God, that you look over us, Lord, and you take care of us, Father. And God, we just thank you for everything you do, Lord. And God, we just pray, Lord, Father, this morning, Lord, that you just give us board of the wisdom, Father, that they need to lead, Father. And God, just bless them in their endeavors, Lord God, and guide and direct us all, Father. We'll give you the praise, honor, and glory for it all. It's in the name of Jesus we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk, if you would call the roll, please.
Mark Martin.
Present.
Russell Reed.
Here.
Todd Hollingsworth.
Here.
Henry Nina.
Here.
Jim Bush.
Here.
Kevin George.
Here.
Clint Higgins. Tony Neal.
Here.
Kevin Mooneyham. Bob Tucker.
Here.
Eddie Price.
Okay, at number 3, send along a summary of what our last meeting was. You should have been able to read it. Is there any comments to it?
I've got a little bit of comment about the, let's see. Some of it just not just putting the facts down, it was just making unsubstantiated statements that I was not really comfortable with, but I will, yeah. It was about the discussion of the IDB board. I just wish we had put a little bit more facts and less controversy with it. That's all.
Okay.
Because there wasn't a vote taken, but you got 2 whole paragraphs here about the discussion that was made.
It took up an hour and a half of the meeting.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably why it took up a third of the summary.
Anyone else? All right, do I hear a motion to approve the minutes of last meeting?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Jim Bush. I second. We're just all in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, now we have committee reports, and we're going to have one from the County Audit Committee. Mr. Glenn Steefley is here, and I did not make copies. It would have been a heck of a lot of copies as far as paperwork goes to send it. So I'm going to send this around as Mr. Steefley comes up and talks to you about it. It's, well, Glenn, just bring these back to me.
I just wanted to send the commission just a brief report on where we stand. After we had the meeting on the 2nd of this month with the state audit team and went over the findings with them, we find out that the county departments have had about a 50% reduction in findings this year as opposed to 2011. In that, we had 8 departments that the committee sent out letters of acknowledgement to those department heads that made improvements in their findings over 2011. That's 8 out of 10 departments in this county. That's significant. Now, we still have a ways to go, but it needs to be conveyed to the committee and to the citizens of the county that the departments have made significant headway in reducing these findings. We have found out that the departments are serious we think, about eliminating the findings. This county only had 2 departments in 2012 that did not make improvements in their findings over 2011. And just wanted everyone to know that. And we are right now in the process of gathering information and confirming that information before we review it together with meetings with the department heads, and that will happen fairly soon. Any questions?
Which one were the 2 departments that did not make no advances?
The 911 district and the county court clerk. Those are the 2 departments.
And they had a low number of findings, right? One finding, and they still had one again the next year, so you can't, unless you eliminate that one, you can't make improvements.
Yes. Well, it stands to reason if you have a dozen or 2, you should be able to make some improvements
That's right.
as well. But yes, those are the 2. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, man. I'm going to let that go. We're going to just take this a little bit so you can at least get a little bit of gist around, come back. The audit committee has really done, they've taken their job real seriously. And I'm glad that I have, if I do interject something, they get it cleaned up right away. They let me know where I am, that I'm not one of the audit committee, so we appreciate the hard work you're doing.
We appreciate your support.
I got a question while we're, got a minute on the committees. Has the planning commission never done anything about the zoning so far? I know we hadn't heard anything about it in a while.
I haven't heard anything.
Has anybody else heard anything about it?
What I've got out of it is we don't have any way to enforce a lot of the things that we need to do. They're working on some things. I won't get into what all I know about because it's not. I didn't get it from a meeting. I just got it from one person on the board.
Right.
We discussed on the last meeting something about land use, and they feel like, according to the guy with the state, land use pretty well controls your zoning. In other words, you know, this land can be used for this land can be used for that. We didn't get into detail on it, but you know, without the county furnishing somebody, you know, you'd have to hire somebody to, if you went into zoning, you'd have to hire
Right.
somebody to enforce it. You would have to have home inspection. That automatically goes along with it. So it gets into detail to quite a bit. But according to the state man, they feel like land use for the county would pretty well control your zoning areas, where and what could be done what, wherever at.
Oh, okay.
How many times do y'all meet, or have you met?
We met last month, and we're just kind of meeting as we need to. That's-
So we can just about call on you when we want to know something about the planning committee?
If I make the meeting, yes. I don't, it won't. I did make the last month meeting.
All right. Let me get here. Making change to the agenda right here, we're moving up Commissioner Reed to the number 6 spot to be able to give what he has prepared concerning a single
Beer store.
beer store. Go ahead, Russell.
All right, Bob, this was brought up by a question I overheard you ask the gentleman from Short Mountain. If he was able to sell beer, what it would do for him. Now, I don't know what it would do for the rest of his business. I've never operated a store that did not have beer. But on the beer side, the county receives a 17% wholesale tax based on the wholesale cost of beer. I've took some figures I know out of my own files and averaged them out for a few years, and I come up with an average cost of wholesale beer of $61,884.95. Now you take 17% of that and send it to the state is $10,520.44. And you take 3% off of that for the wholesaler's commission is $315.61. And the Department of Revenue takes a 0.5% of that is $52.60 for the state. And the rest of that comes back to $10,152.23 for the county. Now this is for one small store. Granted, the bigger stores are going to do more. And after I prepared this, I went into the audit ending 2012 of June, and for the entire county, the state said it got $60,039. That's an average of $20,013 per store in the county. I don't know if the county gets a percentage out of the sales that comes from inside the city or not. I wasn't able to find that. And that average, that's for 3 stores in the county that I know of. That's us and Parsley's and Cannon's Market. And of course, you'd have the yearly fee for a permit of $100 that everybody has to pay. And of course, you'd have the $250 application fee. Now, the only number on here that is make-believe is the retail sales. And I figured a very modest and in some cases generous 15% profit. And that would be $71,167.69. And the local sales tax of 1.75% is $1,245.43. That's the sales tax is the insignificant part, which half of that would even go to the school. And then there is what they call a beer tax. It's a tax on the gallons of beer or barrels of beer. It's 4 something. Let's see, what is it here? Give me a moment and I can find it. The beer barrel tax is $4.29. Of that $4.29, $3.79 is distributed back to the counties and the cities, and to me it's a rather complicated formula, and I didn't sit down to figure it. But 50 cents of that goes to the state highway fund for the prevention and collection of litter. And part of it goes to the mental health department, and a percentage to the cities, and then another percentage for certain counties and all. But now that's what one small package store would bring into this county tax-wise. Now, like I say, I don't know what it would do to the other sales taxes and gas taxes and such for the store, because I don't know.
I appreciate you taking that time on it.
But that's what I come up with. And there's also a gallonage tax as well. I didn't count that.
This is for our information, or do you have a?
This is just for GP.
Okay. Okay.
GPI, General Purpose Information.
The next part will have two parts to it because we had, Mr. Murphy, what is it? Harvey, I'm sorry. I knew that. I'm sorry. We're going to have, Mr. Harvey's going to be coming here, but we also have, we'll be talking with the, you're the chairman of the beer board, Jim?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I imagine, let's go with you first.
We had our meeting, and the beer board, we still feel that we're not going to deviate from the state as far as the maximum footage on this. We're going to defer anything else that happens to come across about this. It's going to be deferred to the whole commission to make a recommendation what they want to do after we met, because it's costing the taxpayers $100 every time we meet for the beer board.
For advertising.
For advertising. So, after we made our findings that, we were not going to deviate from the state law, then we just brought it to y'all's attention, and y'all will make the decision on what to do.
All right, let me ask you this. Besides the distance, is there anything that would stop him from getting the...
Between the church and also there's a cemetery there, and which is considered a public meeting area as far as the state's concerned, and it doesn't meet the requirements either.
Okay, but what I'm saying, does he meet the requirements besides the distance?
No.
Okay. All right, Mr. Harvey.
How many times have y'all met, the beer board met about this one location?
Well, there were times that some of the beer board members couldn't get here, and I was the only one here. Three.
Okay. Mr. Harvey.
But it is where I can appeal every 90 days, right?
You can. You can.
Now, I got my sales tax where I pay in every month. I've got some that are $400 something dollars. And then I've got some that are $1,500. That's how much this county's losing. From 400 to 15. I ain't got all of them, but I got a few right here that show 400, with $494 sales tax I paid in 1 month.
And you're talking about that's
just
regular grocery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I've got some.
How are we losing that if you paid it in?
Well, I've got some months I paid $1,500 sales tax.
But that's without beer.
That's without beer.
Okay.
But then I've got months that are $800. I got months that are $1,200. But I got a few that are $400, $500. But it would bring the sales up in everything. But coming from $400 a month to $1,500 a month, that's $1,100 one time.
Is that it, sir?
Yeah, that's until I get up my rest of my papers, yeah. But
Well-
it would help this county, because I pay taxes for in the city and in the county property tax, and they keep going up. I'm trying to keep them down.
Bob,
Anyway, go ahead.
there's more to this than
Right.
$400 worth of sales tax money.
So
That's two things. One of them is state law has a distance requirement, and you don't meet it.
Right.
And the beer board has said that I didn't say a word while you was talking, okay? The beer board has said they're not gonna be for changing that distance. The other thing is that there are people who get up on Sunday morning to go to church, and they don't want that up there, and they're not for us changing it. And it is a moral issue.
well,
For me personally, it's a moral issue. And I'm assuming there's some people in this audience that it's a moral issue. It is not a dollar and cents issue to them, and it's not to me either. And that's my opinion on it.
Well, that's good, now, all of our surrounding counties have changed it. We talk about having
But you,
our money.
but you
going
don't
to
live in those
different
surrounding counties. You don't
But we
live
were-
in those surrounding counties. You live at Short Mountain. You live with these people right here.
There's
So you live
DeKalb, I can go 4 miles one way and hit DeKalb County, and I can go 4 miles one way and hit Warren County. That's 2 different counties this money is going out of,
There's
going to.
But I can't make one decision today that has anything to do with DeKalb or Warren County. None of us can.
I'm just saying but it's good enough to change it in the city.
That's the city.
Right. But
And I can't do anything right here today about what the city did either.
people still pay county property tax too, right?
That's right.
So they should have something to say about this too.
That's right. And they can be sitting right here.
Well, it's coming.
Well, Mr. Harvey, one of the things, and actually, every one of us here could sit back and argue with the point, or argue with you, not just argue the point. The point is that there is a limit that you can have between the church and a package store, and there's also limits, evidently, as far as what Commissioner Bush said was on the cemetery. I wasn't aware of that.
Yes, I know that too.
And I'm not willing to change that limit. As this board has indicated before, they're not ready to change any kind of limit like that. We're giving up everything. We give just a partial of our rights away every single day, and one of the things is we don't want to give up the fact that we can meet in a church and honor our God in the way that's supposed to be, without having next door selling beer, something that offends these people. So we'll take a vote on it here in just a minute. Is there anybody from the audience that, actually, I don't think that you have to say anything because you've already said it once. You know, you're showing up here again, says it again. I'll give you 2 minutes, Mr. Harvey, and then we're going to vote on it.
Oh, that's all right. I'll be back 90 days.
Okey doke. Now, the question that's coming up is as an owner, Mr. Harvey of the Short Mountain Market, he wanted to address the commission about shortening the distance between the church and the establishment that sells beer. So the question is, when we take this vote, we're going to say, do you want to change the distance between the church and a beer store? The answer will be no if it's, and then of course if you say yes, then we're going to have you explain yourself. So
Who's making the recommendation?
somebody
The beer
needs to
board's
make
not
the
making it.
recommendation. You're going to have to follow the board recommendation, the beer board's recommendation.
They're making a recommendation to not change it.
Right,
To
that's
not
what he just
change it.
said.
That's what, right.
Stay
We're
with
gonna
the law.
reaffirm that.
We're going to reaffirm it. That's what he's asked us to do. Bob, let me have
You need to make the motion to
somebody needs to make.
approve. I'll make a motion to approve the beer board's recommendation to not change it.
To not change it.
So now we vote yes to
That'll
not
be a
change.
yes to not change it.
If you vote yes, you're voting to
To
change
not,
it.
no,
No.
So you're voting,
Voting yes to leave it like it is.
yes. They made the recommendation to not change, they made a recommendation to not change it.
not change it. We're going to go yes,
And
that's
you'll
right.
be yes to approve
Yes,
that
to leave it,
recommendation.
right.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
And if you get stuck, we'll help you when it comes your.
Yeah.
Yes, I vote to not change it.
Russ Reed,
No.
Todd Hollenberg,
Yes.
Jimmy Nichols,
Yes,
Jim Bush,
Yes.
David George.
Yes,
Tommy Neal,
Yes,
Bob Stuckey.
Yes.
Motion. Not to change.
Not to change it, right. Okay, on the next one, it said discuss a photo ID system for the school children, all K through 12, for the safety of students in regards to all the, of course, like to say, the terrible things that had happened to school children in this last decade. We met And there were several of the commissioners, I think there were 7 of us that met along with the sheriff and the superintendent of schools, or the director of schools, and it was on the
School Safety Summit.
SRO, the school resource officer. That's a problem that everybody's going to be coming up with, or everybody has to deal with. And Director Parker came up with an idea that she wanted to make sure that everybody that came onto that school campus was supposed to be there, and it would be they would be issuing IDs for all school children. Now, if you have that ID on there too, and then there's someone, as far as law enforcement officers, they can tell exactly this person and what about this person and why they're where they are. But they need a system, a photo ID system, to be able to carry that out. It was brought up at the meeting that Homeland Security has such a machine. We haven't been able to solve the problem of the SRO because it's going to take a lot of money. The sheriff is not even here today on this, so it wasn't meant to be brought up as far as solving the SRO. But we do have that machine. Evidently, it's not being used. Chief, anybody got an ID from Homeland Security? No. Okay. Mr. George? Don't have it. I remember when it was acquired, but it's not being used. And I'd like to have y'all talk about the fact that how good this system could be for the schools. Now, we're talking about all 7 schools. And there's no sense going out and buying something like that when we already have it here.
My understanding is that when that machine was, when we acquired it on a grant or however we got it, that was one of the uses it was supposed to be used for, was for the school system.
Right, for the school system.
And I think all we need to do is we just need to say that needs to happen. You know, that we need to get, that Barbara and Darrell and Faye need to get together and do it. And I don't really know. I wish she was here. I don't really know if we need to vote and say that to do it, or we just need to ask Mike to get with Faye and get them together. Is it already happening?
It ain't happening.
Oh, there she is. I didn't even see you back there. Okay, that's good.
They read this about something. I don't know why it's on the agenda, because all it took was a phone call from Barbara and Harry Faye. My understanding is Barbara, you correctly comes on.
I'll tell you why it's on the agenda, since you don't understand though. Because I asked Bob at that meeting that night to put it on the agenda for this meeting, so that we could talk about it. That's why it's on the agenda.
This is actually between Homeland Security, because that's who the machine belongs to, and the school system. And I understand y'all already got it worked out.
We've already talked. Faye and I have talked.
Good.
And I know the capability, and it does have the capability of doing what we would like for it to do. It's portable. We can take it to each school. We don't have to have like a mass picture taking at one place. We can take it to each school and do each school in an hour or 2.
Good.
And so that is in the works. Faye did say there would be a cost to the material, so she's supposed to get back with me on that, because we're going to be needing over 2,300 badges for every child and employee to have one.
You gonna say that again, Barbara?
Need 2,300 badges.
2,300
for every student and all the faculty and all
The
that.
only cost to be for the material.
The materials to make the badges, right. But it has the capability of putting the school name, the picture, the everything but fingerprint. It has everything. The barcode that I pointed on there, it has all those capabilities.
Good.
How often are these gonna be redone?
They'll have to be done every year.
Good God.
Will you
At
do?
and at the least every other year, because, first of all, we have a lot of transiency in schools. And so if you give someone an ID badge and they are at, let's say Auburn, in kindergarten, but then they move to downtown Woodbury and they go to Woodbury in first grade. They don't want to be wearing a badge that says Auburn. So, you're going to have to take care of some of that. And then, children age. And when we did Identikid, they did it every other year. And parents could buy that little ID card that you carried in your wallet. And that was like $10 a child. And so they did it every other year, but they actually haven't been in the system in 2 or 3 years now, so I'm not even sure they're.
That was more for something for them to have, so you could.
Yeah, it had a fingerprint
Right.
capability, and it was a money-making thing for the company who did it, and parents could buy or not buy, but every you had to sign a release for your child to be photographed and fingerprinted for that, and that was more of a kidnapping type
Right.
identification. You would have that on record.
You'd have to do it every year as a new class entered the system.
We would have to do the kindergartners or the pre-K every year. And then you have new employees every year. So there would be several that you'd have to do every year.
So
Now, some of the adults you might not want to do every year. They might like their picture and keep it for a few years.
So instead of 2,300 a year, you might as well figure 2,500 a year. Counting goose and.
Well, look how many's gonna get lost, though. You think kids are gonna keep up with an ID badge? No,
Do
they're not gonna keep up with
The
them.
other
That's-
states have every single class down to kindergarten, or they only have the older classes?
Some school systems have everybody. Some school systems just have employees. But as I mentioned at that school safety summit, there are other capabilities that we thought we might use this for instead of the children punching in their lunch number, that maybe they would swap their ID. If we had the barcode, we could use it for attendance. We could use it, so we have classes that meet outside the main building, and when you have those doors locked, then you have to have somebody monitoring that door, or, but if the teacher could just swap her ID and bring her class back in from recess, or, even at the high school, the ag students, we could keep that door, we go into the ag department locked, and they could swap their ID to get back in the main building. Those types of things. So we're looking at that type of capability. So there were other things. We were going to make it something that they had to be able to have, like getting on the internet.
Right. If it's something that they have to use every day, they won't be as bad to lose
Right.
it.
They'll keep up with it.
Is that going to be used for the emergency personnel thing?
Is it gonna be used for what?
Yes.
The emergency personnel?
Yeah.
From what I was told when all this was brought up too, 2 or 3 years ago, that it's going to have a database for what Barbara's talking about, but it's going to be used for, we can program everybody's training in and what they specialize in. When you have a disaster, you can just swipe that card and tell that if you go to a different county what you certified in and what you trained in too.
Yeah, I originally, that's what I thought too.
But all of our emergency people will need to have those cards, so if you have an emergency at the school, they can get in. They would be able to get in, and you wouldn't have to worry about, is this guy with us, or is he one of the bad guys? That's part of the purpose of doing it.
Barbara, have you checked in that when you're talking about, I was almost a little bit ahead of you about, it being record keeping as far as that goes. I mean, that'd be great, you're walking through there, and like I say, slowly we've given up a lot of our rights, but the right to keep our children safe, we don't need to give that up at all. And for them to be able to go to school and zip it, okay, Bob Stetzel's here, he should be in class right now, on that system.
Big brother is watching.
I'm here.
I don't mind him
But
watching
didn't
my
you say
camera.
Dave was here?
Every child ID card. You purchase the stack.
It was you that was here.
She's looking at every
He was
kid.
here.
Well, she's not looking at doing it.
So you
She's
don't
looking
know
at
whether or not that
using it
system's already made
for
up
their lunch
to be able
system and their internet and their knowing if they're there or not.
Do all this
All that
I
stuff.
understand, but kids ain't gonna keep up
What
with ID.
No, kids are not gonna keep
Well,
up with
I've got
ID.
two.
Well,
I know
I
both
don't
of
know.
them.
All right, hold on a second,
All
y'all.
I would need, actually the machine and maybe some manpower would be to make the badges. Everything else that I want to do would, if I could just include that barcode on the badge, and they told me that's possible, then we would run it through our system, through our student management system. So, it wouldn't affect the machine that Homeland Security has or anything else. Always, you know, it was mentioned, I didn't know we had the equipment to do that, so, and when it was mentioned at that summit that we had, then I'm happy to take advantage of that if you all will let us, and that's all we need is to make the badges and set up and arrange the time.
Have you heard anything out of the deputies being in the buildings?
They have been in the building.
I
appreciate that.
I heard that at home 2 or 3 times.
Deputies, that was one other thing. I said that doesn't cost us anything, just to get everybody else up to speed, is just to put the schools on their monitoring route when they're out driving around the county. Just drive around the schools, stop in, do their paperwork, have a Coke or a cup of coffee on us, or even eat lunch with our kids to get to know them. And then just walk the halls, walk around the buildings, and they've been doing that. We appreciate that. And
For y'all to know, I mean, that's what we discussed at that summit, and it was a great idea, and the sheriff was all for it, so. That puts the presence of a police car at any given time, you know.
Until we get the, you know, if the SROs are a viable option, and until that's in place, we had other things that we just wanted to put in place that would ensure the safety, as you said, of our students and our faculty too.
Okay. That sounds good. I think probably Kevin is taking care of himself.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, I got a question right quick.
Sure.
Barbara, Governor Haslam stated that he was putting back in the BED that had been cut before.
The capital outlay?
Yeah, putting money back in it. And
He
so he was
did,
requesting
but
that the
I'm gonna tell you,
counties use it for security and stuff. Do you know how much you're getting?
That, the BEP capital outlay was put back into our budget, and that was $108,000. But my total state allocation is $85,000 short of last year, even with that extra money in there. So he was going to put also, we heard a couple of months ago that we would get a safety allocation, and I haven't heard any more from that. And that was going to be a one-time amount, so it couldn't be something that you would spend on personnel for permanent usage. So that's where we were going to use that money to set up our system for scanning the IDs and that sort of thing.
So good. Good. All right. Anything more on that? Okay, then we'll go to the next one. Randall, you here with it's to approve IDB budget amendments.
You've had it in the past.
Yes, these are the budget amendments we'd like you all to approve.
You go ahead and explain.
Yeah, it's on
Explain.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah, that's what-
self-explanatory, just make it brief.
I called upon you, Randall.
Sale of property, of course, you all know what that's concerned. That's the Bryant Lane property that we own there, plus the property that was owned over here by the convenience center. Engineering services, that was for the work at the Bryant Lane building. Legal services, that's our attorney involved in all of this. Litigation that we've been involved in with THC, maintenance and repair buildings, buildings that we own at Crane, and then committed for other operations, $139,840. That's a credit.
Okay.
So the,
Just stand
they got
by.
$139,840 left after they sold the properties and paid all the expenses related to that, plus a little bit of repair on the Crane building.
Okay, we need a motion
I'll
then.
make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
This will be a motion to approve the budget amendment for the industrial board.
Yes.
Russell Lee,
Yes.
Carl Allenwood,
Yes.
Benny Mann,
Yes.
Tim Bush,
Yes.
Kevin George,
Yes.
Tommy Neal,
Yes.
Rob Stephen.
Yes. Okay, we also have
The next one is to vote to give the Canning County Industrial Development Board the authority to hire their own certified public accountant and put the control of their money totally through their board. One of the things, Randall, if you, and I know this is, I haven't talked to you about it, and this might set you back a bit, but one of the comments that I've got from several people, and maybe these people would want to know too, is people have been asking me what gave you the authority to sell our property.
Well, I wish I had been prepared for that because
Right, I know that.
Our charter explains that we have the right to buy, sell property. We also have the right to sue and be sued. It spells it out pretty specifically what our rights are as a board.
I know what the rights are. I was just,
If had I known, I brought our charter.
yeah. Well, maybe I'll have you come up and explain it later, because there's people in this room that want to know is how come y'all could just sell it, you know.
Bob, I don't need to write. I think it's TCA code 753-302 or something like that. 753 something.
You've looked it up, Tracy?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just saw it the other day, it's like still in my head.
Yeah.
It says all that.
Okay. If you'll address the board, you addressed the board the last time, you and Doug Beaudry, on why you needed to, why you wanted to hire your own CPA,
Right.
take care of your business.
We, at our last meeting, we set this aside, we put this on the table, we put together a resolution. We've sent that to our attorney to be sure that all the i's are dotted and all the t's are crossed and there's no questions in anyone's mind. So at this point in time, if you would, we'd postpone this till the next meeting.
Okay, that'd be good then, thank you.
Thank you.
Bob, before you go any further, and Mr. Reed, just a minute. I've got something here that'll clear all this up, and you won't have to worry about it anymore. I talked to Ben Rogers about y'all coming before us and asked him to move your money and hire an accountant for yourself. Well, he didn't know the answer right offhand. He said he'd send it to his attorney, and they'd get back with me. Well, he answered me. And he says that the IDB does not need county commission approval for these things. That it should be operated separately. The IDB funds should be separate. They should have their own accounts, and IDBs are authorized to hire employees under TCA code 753-302. The IDB needs to separate themselves from the county. It should be operating as a separate district entirely.
And that's what, we had known that. I didn't know that y'all could just, what he had just said, without our involvement at all. But
That would put them on the same footing as the
School board.
highway department, right?
And the school
I
board.
imagine it would,
Highway
yeah.
department.
I think it's the same thing as the school board, isn't it?
And the highway department too, see, we don't.
I appreciate what you're saying, thank you.
I always like to look and make sure that everything's right, you know.
Who did you talk with?
Ben Rogers, our CTAS.
CTAS.
And he's turned it over to their attorneys because he didn't know the answer. And that's what the answer was that I got back.
Cool. We won't have to discuss that no more.
So that takes care
That's
of.
how come you can do what you do.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate that.
I don't know if it would be necessary for us to make a motion or something
Well, let's find out what
to
their.
give them their money or what we need to
When two
do.
attorneys agree, we'll know about it.
We'll know.
All right, thank you, Tony, I appreciate that. Now, we need to bring up notaries. This is in other business.
Randy Knapp, James Monack, Lisa Baird, Lisa Davis, Alex Roberts, Taylor C. Hyman, Valerie Woman, Lisa M. Baird.
Okay, we've heard the list. Do I have a motion to approve these people? Todd Hollingsworth makes that motion.
I'll second.
Tony Neal.
Martin Barker,
Yes.
Russell Reed,
Yes.
Todd Hollingsworth,
Yes.
Henry Manning,
Yes.
Jim Bush,
Yes.
Stephen George,
Yes.
Tony Neal,
Yes.
Bob Stuckey.
Yes. Any other business?
I
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, let Mike go ahead.
You want Mike to
Yeah.
go first?
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay, okay. You want me to do that now, Mike?
You go ahead and then I'll do it.
Evidently, we're supposed to take a vote to approve the committee reports that we heard. So, Jim, if you make the motion.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
Approve the committee report.
Yeah.
We heard from the committees.
We didn't vote on it.
Okay, who made the motion?
I did.
Jim did.
Jim Bush.
Todd did.
Todd. Mark Barker.
Yes.
Russell Reed.
Yes.
Todd Allenberg.
Yes.
Henry Mingle.
Yes.
Jim Bush.
Yes.
Kevin George.
Yes.
Tony Neal.
Yes.
Bob State.
Yes.
Okay, I have a resolution here, and let me briefly explain what we're wanting to do, and we're applying for a grant. I forget what the name of the grant is, but it's to build a walking track around the county fairgrounds. And somebody's going to get the money. I've heard people say, well, that's still our money to be spent. Well, some county's going to get it, so we're going to try to get our part of it. It's been set aside for this, and the match can be in kind, so we can use inmate labor and the county's maintenance guy to do our match. So it should be no cost to the county, and I have no idea at this point. The engineer's studying it and going to give us an estimate on what it would cost, but it would be totally funded, other than the in kind, by the state. And what I've got in mind, a lot of mothers bring their children over there to practice ball. They may want to use the track at that time while their children are playing ball or practicing. There may be some people have to come to horse shows that really don't want to. Well, they'll have the option to use the track, or if they just want to, there's plenty of parking, and hopefully there'll be some of those low-density lights in the dark areas that'll shine down and give them. And in summertime, a lot of people don't walk until after dark when it cools off. There's no guarantee we'll get it, but I'd like to apply for it. I really think it would be there's so many activities that go on over at the fairgrounds. I really think it would be a really great addition to those grounds. You got your community center, your swimming pool, your horse arena, your ball fields, Lions Club. There's just so much that goes on, and if y'all would, with your approval, we will be applying for this next week.
That sounds great. Do you know where it's going to go?
Now this is
What have you asked the engineer to do?
The engineer did a, what do you call it, like a printout of the grounds that showed.
Yeah, site survey
And
type.
we want to go as close to the outside perimeter of the grounds as possible. If we do that, the track will be about 1 1/10 one way around it, if we do that. And the reason I want to do that, that gets it in 2 locations down where to follow the river, which will make it nicer. Now, if we're approved this grant, the engineer's going to come and look at it. It may be so rough down there we can't. We may have to move it up closer to the ball fields. But my goal is to get it as close to the perimeter of our property. We own, I say we, I'm speaking of the county, I think there's about 30-something acres down there. But I know it was 5,000 and 5,100 and something feet, I think it was, if we can go the perimeter all the way around it.
I had that with prisoner labor at one time, that lower one. I had below the ball fields. It's all grown up again now, but I had that clean now. Are we talking about taking the track down that way too?
That's what I want to do.
Right.
If it's feasible. We don't know.
So then we would, if we're going to do that for the safety of everybody, we're going to have to keep that cleaned off at all times then.
This is only, the engineer hadn't said this.
No, but I mean, I would like for that.
I would like a 6-foot wide paved track, and on each side have 4 feet that we could either mow or keep cut with a weed eater, and occasionally plant trees where there isn't any trees, and then our inmates could build these ever so often, have a bench where they could sit. Now, if you're up around the Lions Club and the ball fields, there's plenty of light. Now, if we drop down close to the river, we would have to put,
Some lights.
to keep, how am I gonna word this, the undesirable elements from hanging out at night, we would have to have some kind of light, and they make lights that shine down that doesn't disturb the neighborhood, and well, that's what I say, that's the way I foresee it. And if we do drop down close to the river, it would be, we would need some type of lighting that would be solar panel come on at night.
Yeah, that.
Now, this
Man.
may change, if we get this grant, it may change a lot. We haven't walked the perimeter of the property yet, so, but that's the way I perceive it.
Does the Pascal family still own that land
Yes.
down in there?
Yeah, they own 1.8 acres or something.
They just on that corner right down in there, up against Edgefield.
I'll draw it in there. The river runs
Where the mud
like this and got a
houses
bend to it, comes back, and he owns,
Yeah, I know what you're talking
he
about.
owns the bend in there, so we could hit the river like behind the horse arena and follow the river, I'd say several hundred feet. Then we'd have to follow Ronnie Pascal's property line, hit the river again several hundred feet, and then you would follow the bypass Adams Street.
How you gonna keep the lights from winding up and real?
Well,
Bury all your land.
Lights. You'll have to have lights as high as that bridge, keep them out from underwater.
well, if we have benches, you'll get benches with it, I guess, but hopefully we can't get to the river where Ronnie's property is, because we can't get on his property.
Well, basically, I mean, I think that we can probably work that stuff out a little bit later. Right now, he wants to be able to have the,
I just want to apply for the grant at this
Right.
point, and then I'll give you a full drawing of it once the engineer says this is what's feasible.
grass.
Where's the grassroots from? Are they,
That's the lady that wrote the grant for, what was that last grant?
for the ambulance?
Ambulance service?
Yes.
And when's the filing deadline for this?
The what?
Deadline to put this in?
To file it?
Yeah.
I don't know, she said she was gonna file it next week. We were supposed to get a estimated cost from the engineer next week. The state won't look at it until we have an estimated cost. But whatever our part is, they will allow us to do it in labor to match the grant.
So it won't really cost us anything?
No, nothing but the time that Darrell Fisher would have been there with the inmates. I just think it would be a great addition if we could get it for all the activities that go on over there.
May I just ask one question?
Pardon me?
If it's all right with the chair.
You got this on.
I just want to ask a question. I just want to verify that it is all county property that we're talking about, isn't it?
The only place that I would want to get off of county property is around the Lions Club building. I'd have to, if they refused, I'd have to go around it. But it would work a lot better if they gave us a right of way to cross on the very edge, and I don't foresee them having a problem with it at all.
I only ask because if I have my information correct, years ago, there was quite a bit of money that the town got
For a greenway.
for a greenway, and they could not come to terms with property owners and going near their property, and so they had to return the money.
Right.
And that was very
And this will
sad.
be, and that's one reason I want to do it over there. This will be all county property with the exception of the corner, an acre and a quarter, or whatever it is, the Lions Club, the county deeded them to build their building. And I haven't presented this to them because we don't have to have it, but I would really like for them to allow us to go on the edge of their property. And I know they will, or I think they will.
I think those people were on that Broom Street that wouldn't give up that property.
I don't know how
Yeah.
many were involved, but.
And that was, Thea, that was to tie Dillon Park together with
Yeah,
the
yeah.
fairgrounds, and you was gonna have to cross private property to do that.
Whatever it was, it was the greenway that would connect us to Nashville theoretically. And different parts of certain counties have been able to accomplish that, but.
Since this is a circle, though, it would not cross anybody, it wouldn't
Okay,
run into
so
the same
It'll
problem.
be all on county property with
Sounds
the
great.
exception of that one corner.
in a time when we're hearing more and more about obesity for adults and children, I think this is ideal.
Well, I think that, I think that we can probably work through most of the other stuff, even if we have to deviate it, and what we have to do is give the county, give the county executive the permission to go and apply for this grant. Do I hear a motion on that?
I'll make a motion.
We got three of them. We got Mark Barker and Jimmy Mingle.
Mark Marker,
Yes.
Russell Reed,
No.
Todd Armstrong,
Yes.
Henry Nail,
Yes.
Jim Bush,
Yes.
David George,
Yes.
Tommy Neal,
Yes.
Bob Stephen.
Yes. What
I have
else,
one
Mike?
other thing, but Todd, if yours is quick, I'd go ahead and do it, because this will take a few minutes.
Okay, this is when Dr. Rulin passed, we switched over to the medical examiner system. I mean, like, y'all all were here for that. We remember we appointed Dr. Thomas, Michael Thomas, to be the county medical examiner, and then 4 of us went for training in St. Louis to learn how to do it the correct way, the new medical examiner system. When we got back, I taught a class to all these individuals. I'll give you a list, all their names. I just was going to present this to all y'all with the names and ask for permission to appoint them as medical investigators for Cannon County, and it gives you the TCA codes and everything you need. I just wanted y'all to have a list of each and every one of them, and since I'm on the list, I'm going to recuse myself from voting. Just present this list and ask for y'all's approval of the appointment of these individuals.
All right.
I'll make a motion.
I second it.
Kevin George made motion, Jim Bush seconded for the medical examiner. Now, these are people that are on each, in each, you got Tim over here, Tim Bell, and then, of course, Ricky Cope.
These are folks that are in the county, and they're on each shift, so should be one of these persons at the ambulance service 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Okay.
Because we can't predict when this is going to happen. So this should cover, I mean, there could be an extreme emergency where, I mean, you can't predict emergencies, so I'm trying to cover it as best as I can, so this should be.
Okay, we appreciate that. Call the roll, Bob.
Mark Marker,
Yes.
Russell Reed,
Yes.
Todd Armstrong,
Pass.
Jim Nail,
Yes.
Jim Bush,
Yes.
David George,
Yes.
Tommy Neal,
Yes.
Bob Stephen.
Yes. You know, Nixon said that if you can't vote for yourself, why should anybody else? You know?
Well, I hate to vote when my name is on that list, so.
Bob, I got one more.
Okay, Mike.
Let me say one thing. Did everybody get their card from the University of Tennessee about the impact on Obamacare? And you're aware of the meeting dates in the different areas?
Yeah, there's one in Franklin.
Franklin's.
Right.
Now, I urge everybody, you need to go. I'm gonna take off that day, and I'm going.
Yeah.
Now, this right here is gonna impact this county a lot, and I urge everybody to go if they can.
Thank you. I've got that too. And before you get up there, Mike, attention. Did everybody, or was it just me, that got this model of the ethics policy from the state? Okay, it just must be me. I'm gonna go through it and try to hit the highlights next meeting, to where you know what they expect us to do, and well, actually, with their example and model and stuff like that, it should be fairly easy for us to be able to do it. You got to answer the ethics thing every year on your own position as far as that goes. This is to where it's talking about everybody that's in office, everybody that works for us in office and stuff like that. All right, Mike.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Criticism or whatever, you know, I'm not going to get into all that, but it certainly causes you to educate yourself. And I've got this much I want to briefly run through with you. and it's concerning the last meeting, what was said from the industrial board. Now, I hope I'm going to assume that what they said was out of misinformation and not intentional. So
Mike, that, you should have told us that was going to be.
Bob, you gave them an hour and a half, and I need to answer what was said, because I've got some valuable information.
Their stuff that was coming on, it was planned to come up on that, and we allowed you to make something to it.
But you didn't tell me that it was coming up, and it happened 10 years ago, and there's no way I can answer questions from 10 years ago. So from now on.
Now, what do you expect out of it?
What do I expect out of what? I expect to be given the same opportunity they were given.
What do you expect out of this?
So you'll know exactly what happened. And I've got documentation. You said last time I didn't have documentation. You're free to look at it if you'll notice all the purple tab. But the IDB board has total authority over their money.
Y'all want to hear this? Mm-hmm. Okay.
The IDB board has total authority over their money today. Not one bill was paid without the chairman's signature. Not one. I've got the file down there if you want to check it and see. So there's your 2 signatures. Also, this happened. What I was accused of doing or not doing happened 10 years ago. 10 years ago. Now, I want to ask any of you, do y'all remember what y'all had for dinner 3 months ago on January 13th? How do you expect me, not knowing it's come up, to answer questions from 10 years ago when not a one of you, I'm assuming, can answer what you had for dinner on January 13th? I can't. So that's one reason I want to bring this up now. The minutes of the IDB board are they're just wrong. And the summary is wrong because of the information you were given. Now I want to show you the easy one to explain. It was said that I refused to pay a bill. Every department, the sheriff's department, ambulance department, all of them are great at any expenditure over $100 getting a purchase order. The bill that I was accused was $960 to Hollingsworth Heating and Air. Mindy Gunner emailed us an email to pay it along. I can't find the email, but it was the latter part of January, the 30th or 31st of January. This bill was paid the day that the chairman signed the purchase order. That's the rules. That's what everybody goes by. March the 5th, 2013, there's check stub, March 5th, 2013. It was paid the day the purchase order. Now, if y'all don't want purchase orders used, I'll throw them out. Or if the industrial board is not required to go by the same rules as everybody else, tell me. But that's why the bill wasn't paid. I don't pay anything to the industrial board chairman signs it. Now, the main charge that I want to answer to you today, some $900,000 was spent. It was not approved by the board or the county commission. 2 other loans were apparently either, but the county was pledged for those loans, okay? October 19th, 2002. Right there is a resolution authorizing the filing of an application to Economic and Community Development. Now, read what's in pink here. Whereas the County Industrial Board will be responsible for the repayment of the loan. Tracy's right about that law. That law says you can't legally be responsible. You were told that it had to pass by 3/4 majority. That's it. That's only in the event of Metro Nashville. If the lender requires it, then you 3/4 majority public vote. Then the county's responsible. The industrial board can go out today and borrow $500,000, and you don't have a thing to say in it due to the law that Tracy, and I've got the number right here if you want to look it up. But it says the County Industrial Board will be responsible for the repayment of the loan to the state of Tennessee. On the same day, Crane, this commission voted to do that. Now there's 10 commissioners here, and there's only 2 that comes from that board, and that's Mark Barker and Jim Bush. Now let me read this. To proceed with the application of a CDBG through the State Department of Economic Community Development, this grant will be used in the expansion of a local manufacturer, Cumberland Molded Products. Motion made by Jim Bush, second by Mark Barker. But you didn't even have to approve it. They could have done it without you. Okay, here's a letter sent from Jackie Francis to Economic Community Development, telling them that they're requesting a loan. It's dated May the 20th, 2003. Here's a letter. My name's not on that. Here's a letter sent from Economic Community Development from Jackie Francis, dated May the 27th, 2003, saying we got receipt of your letter. We'll be considering it. Here's another resolution passed by Cannon County the second time. And the reason that the amount of money that is in this one, it wasn't in the first one. Whereas the Cannon County Industrial Board, being the sole owner of the project site, will be responsible for the required $122,000 matching grant and repayment of the loan. Motion made by Jim Bush, second by Mark Barker. June 28th, 2003. That's twice the commission approved it. Resolution for the purchase of real estate by the Cannon County Industrial Board. That's when the 3 acres in the existing building was built, $225,000. October 30th, 2003. You won't find my name in here. Whereas Jackie Francis, chairman of the Cannon County Industrial Board, should be authorized to negotiate and execute a lease, and blah, and goes on. Up here it says, with monthly payments sufficient to satisfy all obligations to the Cannon County Industrial Development Board arising from the purchase and financing of said project. Jackie Francis, chairman of the board, goes on and tells his authority to make all those decisions. Again, down at the bottom, Jackie Francis has the authority, not me. Signed by Jackie Francis, wait a minute. With monthly payments sufficient to satisfy all obligations of the Cannon County Industrial Development Board arising from the purchase. Not one time does it say Cannon County is responsible. Signed by Buddy Davenport, Secretary, Jackie Francis, Industrial Development Board. Here's a letter dated November the 12th, 2003 from Economic Community Development that says we've been approved. Loan agreement. Industrial Board borrowed money from Cumberland Area Investment Corporation, $300,000. The borrower, which is the Industrial Board, is a corporation duly organized, validly existing, and in good standing under the law of the state of Tennessee, and has the corporate power to enter into this agreement and to borrow. Nowhere do you have to approve it. The parties acknowledge a first, remember the accusation that if this had failed, that the taxpayers would, okay, let me read. The parties acknowledge a first priority position in the amount of $500,000, which will be paid to First National Bank. ECD allowed us to borrow that, and then when that money come in, it paid the bank off. In other words, the property stood good for $500,000. It turns out $482,000. CAIC, the other loans, had a second lien. Now, no legal authorization needed. No authorization, consent, or approval, or any formal exemption of any government body, regulatory authorities, federal, state, or local, or mortgages, is necessary. They can do it without you. But they didn't. You voted on it twice, 2002 and 2003. Okay, let's go over here. On this particular note, giving the lender security in all the borrower's machinery, furniture, and equipment, including but not limited to the items as listed in Exhibit A and B. There was never any, I repeat that, danger of the taxpayers of this county having to pay one penny. Over here, if you'll notice on page 10, the first lien to First National Bank of Woodbury, Tennessee, in the amount of $500,000. Why would you call it a first lien if you don't have a second? CAIC held a second lien had it defaulted. Signed by Jackie Francis and Earl Carwile. I witnessed the signatures, all the reason my name's on there. All right, I'll get through this as quickly as can. Official notice from Economic Community Development. Cannon County, at the direction ECD, will ensure the collateral in a matter satisfactory to ECD, meaning the Industrial Board. This was signed by I signed that, okay. But that is the official notice from ECD that we got the, it turns out 482. Here's a loan agreement of $500,000 from Economic Community Development, June 25th, 2004. The terms and payment, the term of the loan shall be 15 years. The note shall be repayable in monthly installments. The first monthly installment shall be due and payable December 1st, 2004. All payments shall be applied first to the principal and then to the interest, then to the principal. All payments will be made to the department. Over here it says the borrower, the Industrial Board at the time, is a corporation duly organized, validly existing, and in good standing under the laws of the state of Tennessee, and has the power, the Industrial Board has the power to enter into this agreement and to borrow hereinto. Down here it plainly says, and I invite any of you to come and look at this, deeds of trust and other liens on chattel or real estate shall constitute legal, valid, and binding liens free and clear of all prior liens. There's so much. That file is a good 6 or 8 inches thick, and no one from the Industrial Board asked me to even look at it. And I don't know how you could make all those charges without looking at the original file. Signed by Jackie Francis and Shaker Reddy. All right. Here's the note from Economic Community Development. It turned out 482.5. They gave us 17.5 as a grant. Signed by Jackie Francis, Mike Corley. Mike Corley was the trustee. Deed of trust to Economic Community Development. What's a deed of trust?
Mortgage.
Pardon?
It's a mortgage to hold on to.
Right. In other words, the collateral was the land and the building. Signed by Jackie Francis, Mike Corley, and it was notarized by Nathan Nichols. Now here, subordination agreement. This was required by Economic Community Development. That was forced, we were forced to sign this agreement by ECD. CAIC, which Common Area Investment Corporation, had to do this before the state would loan us the money, stating that they were second lien. Okay, July the 1st, 2004. Whereas the lenders are willing to make a loan in the principal amount of $482,500 to the borrower. Hereinafter, lender's debt. All right, skip down. Whereas, as a condition of the extension of the lender's debt to borrower, the lenders require that CAIC execute this agreement, and whereas the CAIC is agreeable to the execution of this agreement. Subordination. The CAIC hereby fully subordinates the CAIC liens to the lender's liens with respect to the real property. The real property is the collateral here, described on Exhibit A, and the CAIC agrees as follows. It goes on down, CAIC agrees that the proceeds, any sale, but anyway, it says lender's debt evidenced by the $482,000. That was signed by Earl Carwile, which was over CAIC, and me as mayor. Mike Carley wrote up the document. There's a description of the land in question, which was the collateral. There's where we officially registered the deed of trust, or this subordination agreement, in Debbie Marsh's office. Here it says, "Thank you, Diane, for your time and assistance. Please hold this executed copy of the subordination agreement for Mike Party. Once he has recorded it, please send it back to my attention. Loan Officer, ECD, Oliver Dent." I'm about through, bear with me. Contract credits from ECD. This says the letter and the enclosed final notice of removal of contract conditions. All that does says you're ready to start building. Another loan agreement, CAIC loan $250,000 with a second lien to the property. The borrower, Industrial Board, is again, corporation duly organized, validly existing, in good standing of the state, under the laws of the state of Tennessee, and has corporate power to enter into this agreement and to borrow hereunto, and is organized under Tennessee Code 753-101. On page 3, it says, "The parties acknowledge a first priority position in the amount of $482,500 is held by the Tennessee Economic and Community Development, and a second priority position in the amount of $300,000 is held by Cumberland Area Incorporated. No authorization, consent, or approval, or any formal exemption of any government body, reputable authorities, federal, state, or local, is required for them to do that." Over here on page 5, plainly says, "Giving the lender security in all the borrowers, machinery, furniture, and equipment." There's your collateral. Over here, same thing. There's no need of me reading it all. Everything.
You've read plenty, Mike.
Well, I want to be sure.
Let me tell you this.
When my honesty is questioned, I'm not going to
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
Signed on the back.
Jim and I voted on that, and I couldn't think about what 10 years ago was exactly right, but this statement, that's what bothered me about passing this summary when it says, "without the knowledge of the legislative body," and paragraph 2, that just wasn't right.
No, it's not right.
We voted on it, and we didn't even have to vote on it, but we voted on it anyhow to make sure.
Jackie Francis signed it, Earl Carwell signed it, Jackie signed another form, says, "This note is secured by a second mortgage, Jackie Francis."
And one more thing I want to say. Are you done?
No.
All right.
I got a few more. I got two.
Are they just the same group?
No,
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
All right, here is an agreement, ECD, property is collateral. I'll quit at that, signed by Jackie Francis. Here is an audit. Go ahead. I thought you was going to hit me. Here's an audit by ECD in February of 2011. Nearly 10 years later. You're welcome to see it. It come out perfect. One small finding, there was one form that the development district didn't send in. They were supposed to. You were told I was written up in an audit because I didn't get approval. That's not right. They didn't have to have approval. I was written up because there was one form out of 100 pages we failed to send the comptroller's office, and we did send that later.
And we were told that the county taxpayers was on the hook for those
That
no's.
was never
And
true.
that was just totally wrong. The property stood for it. We'd been no more on the hook for that than we would somebody's house in Readable that's getting foreclosed on.
All right, I've got a question about that. Since we were told that, and where did the land originally come from? How did the IDB acquire that land?
Bought it from Tom Telford, $225,000, building and machinery.
All right, where did the IDB get the money
They
to buy?
had over $400,000 when they did the crane thing. They had the money from rent from crane.
Oh, I'm talking about from the beginning.
Rent from crane.
Where did the?
Before Crane's what you're asking about.
I want to know how did it start?
How did what start?
The
The
industrial
IDB, the.
that was before Jim and I even got on here.
Well, I guess what I'm getting at is
Dillon property, Dallas Fox and
Dallas Fox.
Crane
Bill Terry
Interior.
Alexander and all of them started it over there and bought the Dillon property. And
Right, and Crane Interior was.
Did they just borrow the money up front?
The Industrial Development Board was set up as a board to do all that.
Right. Did they just borrow the money, all the money up front?
I don't remember
No.
that. I wasn't on.
To do what?
To
get the
start.
industrial
to begin
park
with.
over there.
Now, let me tell you, back when Harold Patrick was here, you got a state grant. There was a program under Ned Ray McWhorter for distressed areas. The state totally built Crane. Crane. But the money that they paid in lease had to be used to further,
Right.
that's where the money.
So the original money with Crane and
Was
it
a
was sort of the
state grant.
beginning of it was taxpayer money.
From the state. It
All
was a
right,
grant.
my question, what I'm getting around to, I understand that the land and the machinery and all that was collateral on all those notes that you went through there. And if any of those notes had defaulted, then the bank would have gotten the land or the machinery or whatever as collateral.
If the bank had, if
If the IDB had defaulted on their note, the land
the
was,
state would have got it first. They would have come in and sold the property. All over 500,000 would have gone to CAIC as a second lien holder.
but to simplify it for a mind like mine, you borrowed the money from a bank and the collateral was the land and the machinery.
Not the bank. The
Whoever.
banks- Yeah.
They loaned the
state,
money.
Yeah.
If you default on the note and that's collateral, then whoever you owe the money to gets the property,
Right.
right?
Right.
So who, in order to keep that business going, let's say you mismanage the IDB funds and you don't pay your note and you default on that note, to keep the bank from coming to get the land, what's going to happen? What happens to keep the Crane from having to leave here and all those jobs leave here? Somebody's got to pay the bill.
The industrial board, you're not responsible.
Well, I understand I'm not
I say
responsible.
you,
I'm not
I mean-
responsible for that note, but who's responsible for making sure that those jobs don't leave here because of mismanagement on the IDB? I'm just telling you that the IDB wasn't responsible enough to pay the note. I'm not saying they didn't. I'm saying in the case of them not paying their note and it defaults, then how do you keep from losing the land and the factory and the building?
If you default, you would lose it. You would.
So all the jobs will be gone and everything.
If you defaulted, there was never any,
And who would all those people be looking to?
They'd be looking to industrial board simply because that's who owns the building. They're totally different from y'all. Tennessee Code 7-53-306, counties are not liable for IDB board. Look it up. The only time you were told that these notes should have been put out for a public referendum passed by 75%, the only time, and the lawyer looked this up, I did, the only time that's required is like Metro Nashville's going to build a $200 million convenience center.
Convention center.
What did I say? Convention center.
That's a whole nother discussion.
That's a nice one.
Let's don't get on that one.
So, lenders would not loan the industrial board or whoever money without the public being responsible. But banks and the state will loan this. That's the law. Mark, give me 1 minute. You asked me. Now, I went as far as going back with Cynthia's help, digging through a lot of rat droppings, I'm sure, but I went as far as to get the tapes. October 19th, 2002. I made notes. I welcome any of you to come listen to tape. If you think, after listening to that, anybody was trying to cover anything up, and I was making a push to build this building, but the man making a bigger push than me was Jim. And we had these same questions in. Jim was supporting it 100% because, and Jim made this statement, the worst case scenario, we just have a spec building that many people, and I agree with Jim on that.
Yeah, I agree with Jim, because I voted for it.
You made the motion.
The statements that were made a month ago, some of them may have been, through lack of knowledge, I don't know, but some of them were wrong. Especially the one about us being on the hook. Well, I'm talking about us being on the hook. And there's two of them that are in this summary that we voted on, and I don't think we ought to let them stand in the summary as being correct.
Well, first of all, Mark, hold on a second. First of all, last week when we did this. Last month.
Yeah.
When we did this, you made a statement, and I agreed with it. You said, Kevin said, let's go ahead and let the DA
That's fine.
do that. And you said or exonerate him. And I agree with that. But that's where it should lay right now. We've already sent that stuff to the DA. It's already been sent to the comptroller. Comptroller sent it to the DA. We shouldn't have anything. Mike wants to go ahead and give his story of what it is. That's fine. But we're not going to decide it here.
I wish you'd get the DA up here. I'm anxious to see.
Well, here's one thing. In here in this summary, it says, the county mayor refused to write a check to pay a bill that the IDB owed. We have instructed him not to write checks without purchase orders, and he had the evidence right there that it was written only after the signature was on the purchase order. Now, are we gonna leave that little statement there in the summary? Y'all look at the summary and see right there.
And I want to show you something else, and I'll give Mark and Jim and myself credit for this. This was a good thing. This is something that we did in 2002 and 3 that was good. Election's next year, so they're trying to turn it around and make it bad. This was $1,050,000 in total loan to build that building, right? One loan's already paid off. Not out of taxpayer money, out of rent from Crane and out of rent from this building. $250,000 loan from CAIC's already paid off. It was paid off in February of 2010. The $300,000 loan from CAIC, we only owe $192,759.35. The $500,000 loan from State of Tennessee's paid down to $221,675.07. We borrowed $1,050,000. We only owe $414,434.42. We got $1 million building sitting over there that's brought in rent money, and we are over halfway paid. Soon be 2/3 of the way paid off with rent money drawn from Crane and them. Now that was a smart move back in 2003. What's that comedian say? That whatever it is, but anyway, that was a smart move, and these figures prove it. I just wish we had another deal like that today. And I'm gonna bring up something else. One reason this industrial board has been in office 10 months. They've already spent $18,410 on legal fees. We never spent a penny in legal fees before they took over. That's $1,800 a month in legal fees. There's the printout. So I'll shut up after that. I think I've proven my case, and I'll keep this file very handy, and when the DA gets here, I'll be happy to show him anything we got. I just wish y'all had the influence to get him here sooner instead of later. Thank you for your time.
We would too.
I look forward to seeing you.
As far as taking this statement out, this is what he said. This is what Randall Reed said. So this is the report of what was said to the commission. We don't take that out.
I'm assuming you're gonna put what Mike said in next month's.
I hope not.
Yes, you should.
I mean, you're gonna.
The next summary should be
summarize.
I can't remember that much.
You summarize.
You remembered an hour and a half's worth of the last one.
You remember two. Remember two.
What's it going to do? Is it going to help us out?
A few months ago, and Tommy had the same concerns about the summary, some of the wording, and I don't remember if he talked to Bobby or Cynthia. One of y'all can help me out here. They assured us that what y'all are actually voting on are her minutes, not any summary that's laying in front of you. You're voting on the actual minutes of what happened. Now to see those.
Well, I didn't write the summary up.
I do. I write the summary.
Right, but that's not what did you tell me that's what you're not actually voting on? You're voting on the minutes, right?
That's right. You're right, Tracy. And I made that statement when we voted on the summary, and I voted for passing the summary because it is a summary, and what we voted on is recorded with our votes, yes or no.
Right.
And the comments that are made in between time are in the summary.
Right, here.
That's right.
Right, that's why they can't be taken out.
Well, the answers to some of these questions, though, that have been answered this month should be in this month's summary. That's all I've got to say.
Probably the only thing that I could do is put in there on the summary is that Mike denied these, and that's it.
I don't agree with that. He proved he was right. Just
No.
saying he denied it's not right.
As far as, he proved nothing.
But heck, he didn't.
No.
These are not even,
He's got to cancel check where he paid the exact bill that they're talking about.
we are not looking for proof or non-proof or guilt or anything else right here. We have sent it to the DA, and he's the one that we'll be looking for.
And I voted for that, and when it gets
Now, wait a
here-
minute. In our letter here that you sent, Bob, it says the evidence shows mishandling of funds. That's not a correct statement.
It is when you see the, when you
With
see
what we
the
just
stuff.
saw,
I think, have you seen everything that the IDB has?
no, I haven't.
Okay.
But you're making a judgment in this letter. It says the evidence shows mishandling and abuse of power and conflict of interest.
Yeah,
That's an accusatory statement that shouldn't be in
On
this
yours,
letter.
okay, there was a slight change on that. Let's see.
I mean, I don't want to make any judgment either way. If it's going to the DA, we'll worry about him doing that. But the letter with my name on it has an accusatory statement that I don't agree with.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that.
Well, that's fine, because I had changed something here anyway. When I sent yours out and I looked at it and read over it again, I said, well, you know, exactly what you said there. It says, let's see, shows me and appears, I had put down appears and didn't make it as a fact. I said
Okay,
good.
Okay, well, that's
better.
That's right.
And that's the one that went to the DA.
Okay.
Well, look in the third paragraph right there. It says, presented statements and reports about money being taken out of the coffers of the IDB without the knowledge of the legislative body. Well, Jackie Gannon was the every one he read there was signed by Jackie Gannon, Jackie Francis.
Yeah, and see, one of the things
See,
is that's where they're going to is the fact that there was no quorum on it at all, which made it illegal. Yes, it says so in the state statute.
Okay, even though.
But it wasn't, it doesn't matter who signed it. This legislative body didn't have anything to do with that.
This didn't. You and Jim evidently were the only ones on back at that time.
What I'm talking about, even though the county commission at that time, they didn't have to do even that, the voting on it, and it was the right thing to do. You know, it'll be hashed out finally.
Yes.
And I'm glad Mike was, I would hate to be put on the spot about what I did 10 years ago. Jim and I didn't even know we'd made the motion and seconded it, but
I remember when the shaker come before
Yeah.
with First National Bank. You know,
and it's turned out to be a good thing.
The tapes are downstairs, if any of you want to hear them, we can come Monday, we'll sit right here and let you.
If there's nothing else, I'm going to move to adjourn.
Not yet. There was somebody else had something. Now, what I would like to say, and to Mike too, and to the audience, what I would like to say is that we have a committee, the Industrial Development Board, which we all found out had a little bit more power than what we thought they had. They're the ones that's making the accusation. We are the ones that voted on sending this out to the DA. We're not making we are not convicting Mike. Last week or last month he said, I don't like when somebody called me a crook, and I told him, nobody's calling him a crook. What we're doing is we're taking the information that was handed, and rightly so, to the commission, and asking the judicial part of our government to check into it. Mike wanted to say something to it because just like anybody else, myself included, there's accusations, you want to get it cleared up.
That's right.
But what he had done had not proven anything. He just showed what he got. He showed, this is what I got. And he should be talking to the DA on that, or the DA will be talking to him about it. Not us.
It's fine.
You know, and if there's any questionables here, that's why we go through it in the first place. So, is there anything else?
Yes,
Do I hear?
yes.
Huh?
I just would like to know if the three members that are here on the solid waste study committee, if they have a minute afterwards so that we can schedule a meeting, that would be Kevin and Tom.
Let's see, that's myself and Commissioner George and Commissioner Hollingsworth. Yeah, we got time. Do I make a motion? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion adjourned.
Second. Everybody get up.
All done.